Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Many of you may have watched the recent debate between our brother Daniel Haqiqatjou and the punk Christian apologist Michael Jones, who I like to call the Angry Bird. After watching the debate myself, I felt the need to make some reaction videos, mostly on the rather weak and brief appeals to the Bible that Jones made. Unfortunately, I don't think brother Daniel pressed Jones as aggressively as he should have on the Bible. He let him off pretty easily. So let's destroy Jones and his Bible. Jones was wise enough to comment on the infamous passage in Numbers 31, where Moses commanded the Israelites to kill all the Midianite women and young boys, but spare the female children as wives. Note that to his credit, Jones did not deny that these girls were taken as child brides, unlike other dishonest Christian missionaries, but he attempted to shift the blame from his God to poor Moses.
I suspect he'll go to Numbers 31, where Moses tells Israel to kill all the Midianites, but keep the young girls for themselves. And I suspect Daniel will argue God was permitting Israelites to take virgin child brides. But scholars like Robert Alter and Paul Copan note this was not a command from God. The text says this is Moses acting on his own out of anger. In the chapter, God only commands Israel to make war on Midian, and after that, Moses becomes angry and tells Israel to go one step further without God's involvement. Moreover, in doing this, Moses violates the principles of Deuteronomy 20, which says to not kill the livestock, women, and children in war. So Moses' anger caused him to order something that God directly argued against in Deuteronomy. And as we find out later, Moses' anger eventually got the best of him.
It's a clever argument, but one that ultimately fails. As Tom Stark observes in his book, The Human Faces of God, later in the same chapter, Yahweh himself gives explicit instructions about what to do with the remaining virgins. So if the command was from Moses, Yahweh still accepted it and endorsed it. So he does not get off the hook. Yahweh endorsed child brides. Period. Furthermore, it is rather silly to say that Yahweh gets no blame since he perhaps only tolerated Moses' sin.
The problem is this would be confusing descriptions with permissions. The Bible describes things that happened in the past without claiming they were good actions. God often tolerated the sin of the prophets and the patriarchs and proclaimed their actions were morally good.
Murdering thousands of people and handing out female children as wives is a pretty atrocious sin. Yahweh was willing to kill Moses for far less. In Exodus 4, only the intervention of Moses' wife saved his life from a vengeful Yahweh. Apparently, performing a quick circumcision on her son and placing this bloody foreskin at Moses' feet was enough to save his life. Whatever sin Moses was guilty of, surely it paled in comparison to what he did to the Midianites. That is, of course, if it was even a sin. There is no indication that Yahweh saw it as such. And as for the Angry Bird's appeal to Deuteronomy 20, claiming that Moses violated the command to spare the civilian population of a city, Jones is ignorant of his own Bible. Simply put, Deuteronomy 20 does not apply to the battle against the Midianites. First of all, the law only applied, as stated in verse 15, to the nations that are very far from you. The Midianites were actually very close by. Plus, the whole reason for fighting the Midianites was to wreak vengeance. The justification was to blame the Midianites for enticing the Israelites to commit idolatry and intermarriage. In Numbers 25, Phinehas even kills an Israelite and his Midianite wife, an act that earns him praise from Yahweh. So, the Israelites could not spare the Midianite women as per the rule in Deuteronomy 20. That rule did not apply here. So at the end of the day, both Yahweh and Moses are culpable for the mass murder and forced child marriage in Numbers 31.
Chris Hansen would like for you to take a seat. Take a seat right over there as we dive in.
Given Jones' strong opposition to child marriage, I'd say he should throw his Bible away. You're finished.
وقل جاء الحق وزهق الباطل إن الباطل كان زهوقا